What's up, guys? It's been a little while, but I am back to talk about All Quiet on the Western Front. Wow, this movie is an experience and should only be undertaken if you're willing to see the horrors of war splayed out in excruciating detail. This is definitely not a film or a review for children, since I use images, although of course I will have to be choosy. You've been warned. Let's go. If you're unfamiliar with the source material, the origins of this narrative come from a book of the same name written by Remarque in 1930, which was adapted into a big Hollywood production the same year and is still considered a classic. The narrative begins with some German youths, utterly taken in by propaganda, shipped off to fight in the trenches for honor und glory und Schnitzel, but they do not find honor or glory, and definitely not schnitzel. They find terror, brutality, insanity, inhumanity, mud, blood, and death. The film descends pretty rapidly into effectively horrifying territory. If you know anything about World War I, specifically trench warfare, well, you kind of know what you're gonna see here. And if you don't know about trench warfare, holy bananas. Strap in and strap on for a visually explicit history lesson. And the squeamish had better bring a barf bag because this picture don't pull no punches, sweetheart. On the topic of things that you see, besides wholesale murder and fields of corpses, the cinematography and production design are beautiful. Much like 1917 by Sam Mendes a few years ago, there's something deeply experiential about this movie. It injects you right into the heart of things. I felt the dirt and the cold and the fear, and the camera work during battle scenes was exquisite from a craft perspective. It is absolutely some of the most stunning war cinema ever produced. Moving along, it's been said that any great war movie is also by its very nature an anti-war movie. I believe this is agreed upon by people who are not monsters. All Quiet on the Western Front knows this. It shows the overt manipulation of young men through insidious nationalism. It shows the cyclical, cynical horror of the war machine grinding them up and then repurposing their clothes for the next round of meat fodder. But it explores this realm best of all through painful human moments. The young man bayonets an enemy and watches him choking to death on his own blood, and you see the realization dawn that one's enemy is not just some evil abstraction, but also a man, not dissimilar to you at all. The film uses scenes like this to supreme effectiveness. I wouldn't call them bright spots per se with all the gratuity and horror, but they're moments filled with tremendous empathy, and promote empathy in the viewer if you're not a monster. They are the most effective anti-war moments in a very, very good war movie. Very good, however, is not the same as perfect. I have a couple criticisms, although they're kind of weird. First of all, I understand why it was necessary to balance the narrative between the boots on the ground, mud and blood, and the stuffy older guys eating pudding or whatever and having peace talks. It gives the audience a breather, for one. It also contextualizes the war and gives a reference point for what the soldiers are experiencing. This isn't poorly done, but I wish the film just left us in the chaos of the soldiering, with no clue what the higher-ups were doing. The most compelling part to me by far is the experiential element, and feeling confused and disoriented and tired and ignorant of the broader picture is the true experience of these soldiers. If we're going for raw dog reality, don't pull out. But I know it's based on a book, and like I said, I get why they did it. My other complaint is not really a complaint, it's extra weird, but something I wish the filmmakers had expanded on a little more. There are very minor experimental aspirations lurking on the periphery of this film. They're most easily spotted close to the beginning and end, where instead of the usual stringed instrumentation, the score evokes something more modern and industrial. It's like they hired Trent Reznor or Johnny Greenwood for 5 minutes and then went back to the orchestra. These little unexpected scoring choices felt different in the context of a historical war picture, and I wish they had carried this flirtation further because it was strange and interesting. Similarly, the film also has an infatuation with infrequent but noticeable additions of nature footage. Cutting to nature in the midst of any human drama, especially war, is evocative. It just is. The juxtaposition between the natural and the patently unnatural is a breeding ground for visual metaphor. Terrence Malick knows this best of all, and it's a huge part of why The Thin Red Line is one of the most beautiful and best war movies of all time. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with this, except to say that All Quiet on the Western Front could have done more with the tools it had as regards these shots. I just felt like they were underutilized. All told though, these are really minor complaints, and they're mostly subsumed by the strengths of the film, which are many and strong. I didn't even mention how good the actors are, but they're terrific. Like, most things in here are terrific. All Quiet on the Western Front is a behemoth of a film. It is brutal, it's horrible, it's beautiful, it's empathetic, and it's deeply, deeply cynical all at the same time. As a war movie, it is very, very good. As an anti-war movie, it is great. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.